The night everything changed began with a scream no one was brave enough to answer. In the soft glow of a high-end restaurant, surrounded by polished silverware and murmured conversations, a woman in a stunning red dress staggered forward, clutching her throat as her breath vanished. People froze, eyes widened, chairs slid back, but no one moved. And that was the moment when a tired single father, dressed in a shirt he ironed 3 times because he owned so few, rushed toward danger without hesitation. He didn't know her name. He didn't know her world. He only knew someone needed saving, and he wasn't about to let her die. If you believe the world still needs kindness, courage, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us create more stories that inspire hearts. That night, Daniel Hayes had come to the restaurant only because it was his daughter Lily's 9th birthday. He couldn't afford a lot, but he had saved for months so she could feel special for one evening. Lily had chosen the place because it had shiny plates and tiny desserts, and Daniel couldn't refuse her, even if he felt painfully out of place among the wealthier guests. He had been helping her cut her chocolate tart when he heard the desperate choking. Instinct took over. He reached the woman in seconds. Her skin had gone pale, her hands shaking violently as she clawed for air. Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind, steadying her as panic coursed through her body. He performed the Heimlich with a calmness he didn't feel, his heart pounding as he prayed the technique would work. On the 3rd thrust, a piece of food shot free, and the woman gasped, crumpling into trembling breaths. Her knees weakened, and Daniel held her gently until she regained strength. For a moment, the restaurant fell utterly silent. He didn't see judgment. He didn't see glamour. He saw a woman who had nearly lost her life. When she finally looked up, her eyes glistened with shock and gratitude. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked, leaving only a whisper of thanks. Daniel gave her an awkward half-smile, embarrassed by the attention, and returned to his daughter, who proudly announced that her dad was a hero. He ruffled her hair, pretending to brush it off. To him, it had been nothing more than what any decent person should do. But the woman he saved, Evelyn Hart, didn't come from a world where people jumped in without a second thought. She was one of the most influential billionaires in the city, known for her sharp business mind, her private life carefully hidden from the public eye. She had grown up surrounded by power, money, and the kind of polished conversations where kindness was often an accessory, not a truth. What Daniel did, pure, selfless, immediate, shook her more deeply than the choking itself. She watched him from across the room afterward, observing the tenderness with which he smiled at his daughter, the quiet pride in his posture, the humble way he tried to slip back into anonymity. Something in her heart, something she didn't even know she was missing, stirred awake. The next day, Daniel returned to his small routine, waking early for construction work, packing Lily's lunch, and balancing the kind of exhaustion only single parents truly understood. He never imagined the woman he had saved would come looking for him. Yet, 3 days later, she appeared at the rundown construction site where he worked. She arrived not with cameras or fancy announcements but with a nervousness she couldn't hide. She thanked him again, this time properly, with full breath and full emotion. She extended her hand, and he shook it uncertainly, not understanding why someone like her would care so deeply. Evelyn found excuses to see him again. First to offer him a reward, which he refused, then to bring Lily a book she'd mentioned at the restaurant, then simply to talk. Their worlds were impossibly different, but something warm grew between them, something that surprised them both. Daniel was cautious, afraid of hoping for anything more than friendship. His heart had been broken before, life had taught him to protect himself and, more importantly, his daughter. But Evelyn wasn't someone who gave up easily. She admired his strength, his honesty, his quiet resilience. She admired the way he would sacrifice everything for Lily. He made her feel grounded in a world that often felt too high up to touch. Slowly, their conversations deepened. Dinners turned into walks, and walks turned into moments where silence felt safe. Evelyn found herself laughing again, not the polite, business-perfect smile she used for the world, but a soft, real laughter she'd almost forgotten. Daniel found himself opening up, sharing stories of hardship, love, and loss. She listened, truly listened, and it softened something inside him he had long kept locked away. But even as they grew close, Daniel couldn't shake the fear that her world would crush his. He didn't want to be a charity project or a passing fascination. It wasn't until Lily tugged at his sleeve one evening, whispering that, "Miss Evelyn smiles at you like she's been waiting a long time," that he finally allowed himself to believe that maybe, just maybe, love was choosing him again. Evelyn told him one night, under a quiet sky, that the moment he saved her life, she didn't just feel air return to her lungs, she felt her future shift. She had been searching for something real for years without realizing it. And there he was, a man who gave without asking, who loved without showing off, who protected without expecting anything back. By the time they finally held each other with certainty, the world around them didn't matter anymore. A billionaire and a single dad, an impossible combination on paper, but a perfect one in the heart. If this story moved you even a little, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories to life.